Thank you for joining the January 2022 VMware TAM customer webinar. This webinar is organised by the VMware TAM organisation to provide our customers with the opportunity to hear great content and interact directly with great speakers that are delivering it with the goal of making sure you're getting the full benefit from your software. Please make use of the Q&A feature to ask any questions. And if your question doesn't get asked today, please be sure to reach out to your TAM and ask them to follow up. Before we get into today's content, there are just a couple of basic announcements. Our next TAM customer webinar will be on the 10th of February, and we'll have the privilege of being joined by Stephen. And he's our global TAM practice leader for the digital workspace to talk about Horizon 8 ESB. As I mentioned earlier, we want to benefit from these sessions by interacting with the speaker. So if you do have any questions, use the Q&A feature of Zoom and we will address them during the webinar or at the end. At the end of today's session, you'll be prompted to fill out a simple 2-question survey related to the value you've received from this session and any topic suggestions for future sessions. Your completion of this survey is a very valuable gift back to us and we would really appreciate it. And lastly, this webinar is being recorded and your TAM can make the recording link available to you. After a few months, the recording will also be publicly available on the VMware TAM Services YouTube page, which your TAM can also provide you with. So after that brings us to today's speaker and topic. Thomas Vigron is a product line manager for the NSBU, and he will be talking to us about what's new in NSXT 3.2. So Thomas, please go ahead.
Hello everyone. So thank you for having me. So let's start. So maybe first a quick introduction. So I am part of the NSBU product management team, and I am what we call the release PM for NSXT 3.2. So that does not mean I am the only PM of the release, or I am the PM for every feature, but it means that in addition to what I'm managing in terms of feature, I work to coordinate the release with the dev manager and the release management on this topic. So in this session, we'll go over 3.2.0, which is a major release. I'll cover the different features. I'll do the best to answer your questions. If I don't have the answer, I'll check and we can follow up with you on that. So now moving specifically to this release, 3.2.0. As I said, 3.2.0 is really a major release for NSBU, probably the biggest release we've had in terms of features. So in this slide deck, we are going over the different customer-facing features which have been introduced in the release. And so we'll go over those. Just before that, I wanted to point out 2 things. One, which also were implemented in the release and are a bit less visible, but not less important than those features. So one of them was the fact that Log4j happened at the end of the release. And typically this version has improved protection against Log4j vulnerability. You'll find that in the release notes, but I would say that was not planned, that was not a feature, but that was important to have in the release. And also an important one, and which will link to something which will for sure be a question at some point or another, which was that there were a number of optimization, many architectural optimization done in the product itself in order to improve the time for creation of the objects, how fast we can create things and how many things we can create at the same time. So there were a lot of improvement inside the platform, leading to improvement of performances, which are, well, the improvement of performance is seen by the customer, but the changes are mostly internal to the product. So many internal changes also happen during this release. So now maybe to move to the feature itself. In addition to that, as I said, it's one of the biggest release that we GA'd. We had some new features on the platform, the security and the advanced networking. And so on the platform, and I'm going to go over those in more detail, so that is just a summary. we have the integration with vSphere, which typically to have something smoother to deploy for customers who want to manage things from vCenter or who have smaller environments. The introduction of the NSX application platform, I talked about that in detail. The integrations, multiple integrations, which were asked for quite some times, one with Entria, one with ALB, formerly AVI, and some improvement also, typically for people who adopted the platform earlier or who had legacy platform, so meaning improvement to the V2T migration. So NSXV end of support is very close, as you probably all know. And also people who adopted NSXT in the early days and were using what we call the policy API, which was changed in NSXT 2.4. So those are the platform things. In addition to that, there are a number of security features. Security has always been a focus for NSX. Many customers that deploy NSX mostly for security, or at least in a large part for security. And we have started from a layer 4 firewall and added features upon features and for that. So typically here you'll find, we'll go also over it in details, but more application identities for the distributed firewall, more IDS, IPS, the ability to do new things like behavioral analysis, that type of things. And also something which was a customer ask for some times, which is to be able to do firewall not only on NSXT networks, but to be able to do firewall on vSphere networks without changing the VMs. Typically for those customers who are really interested in the firewall features, but are a bit less interested in the other features of the product. And lastly, in terms of big chunk, we are still adding some features in terms of advanced routing features. So typically like EVPN, enhancements to federation, improvement to the equal cost multipass to have multiple edges in order to improve performance and to also target some more advanced use case with service provider or large enterprises. So yeah, I see the question, and let me tackle that right now. On the upgrade path between lower versions and NSXT 3.2.0. So it was not planned not to have an upgrade path between NSXT and 3.2.0. It is a bug, there is a KB on that, and which is related probably to those architectural change I was talking about. So the team is working right now to solve that. And you can look in Release Hub, there is a 3.3.2.0.1 which is being planned to address those issues. So yes, we are working on that. We know today the fact that it's for Greenfield is an issue, but that's not the way it's meant to be or to stay. So we have the 3.2.1 in the 3.2.0.1 in the works. Okay, so allow me to go on. And please, if you have any questions, ask them. As you've seen, I'll answer them when I see them and when I have a pause or it makes sense in the flow. So we'll start with the platform. So the first thing is this typically integration into vCenter of NSX. So which requires a minimum version of vSphere, so typically at least vSphere 7, and which will allow customers who want to do things from vCenter to be able to deploy NSXT, to be able to do things from vCenter, and have a simplified model. In some way, NSXT brought a lot of value by having one NSXT being able to span multiple vCenters, not having a one-to-one mapping, but having something which could do more, but for different customers, and some of them want small environment and who like to do everything from vCenter. It depends a little how their team are organized. That was nice to have things in vCenter itself. So that's why we are adding this ability to consume NSX from vCenter and to have a plugin. So typically to deploy NSX from vCenter and to empower the vSphere team. So you'll directly have a tab in NSX, and typically that will allow to deploy NSX and to simplify the deployment. And that's hand in hand with what we were saying and what I'll detail after about now this ability to run NSX for security only and to run NSX to secure the workloads which are on these port groups. So for use cases, simpler use cases, which are VMs just connected to port groups without overlay, for instance. And so I'll answer the next question, which is this application platform. Lots of security features require it, yes. So that's what we're going to talk about right now. So what is this application platform? Let's explain that. Typically, this application platform is this application platform, it's a container-based solution that allows to offer a highly available and scalable solution in order to run some advanced security features. And that's where typically you would run NSX intelligence, but other things also like NDR, metrics, and malware analysis. And we have introduced that, saying that if you just create manually a VM for those services, for instance, for NSX intelligence, you are limited in terms of scalability, horizontal scalability, by what that VM creates. And the VM can get only so big at some point. So NSX application platform relies on a Kubernetes infrastructure, and NSX on this Kubernetes infrastructure will deploy typically those components and will configure those components in order to be able to leverage the Kubernetes platform to be able to run those features and to make them scale as needed. So we are introducing that in this first version 3.2.0. For now, you need to set it up and when download the workloads, create the registry, all that type of things. We are looking also at simplifying that and making them available from a VMware repository. So those things are things where we are looking at. But yeah, that's the goal for NSX application platform. And no, NSX ALB does not use NSX application platform. And on the second question, I don't know. I need to check on the migration path for the existing intelligent appliance VMs into an NSX application platform. So maybe we can take a note of that, and I'll come back to you. So everything then after that is managed from the NSX UI. What you see here is the NSX UI. So that's where you will see typically those different components. And just like when you consume NSX intelligence, you see it from the NSX UI. And so let me just take a look at the different questions. So for the question on the vCenter version, I think it's in the interop matrix. Typically, I think both of them are supported, but that information is in the interop matrix on the vCenter 7.03 or 7.0 U2. And for the question, if we configure a firewall rule from the vCenter interface, will it show in NSX? Yes, everything will show in NSX. And we are going to see that even when you configure typically a firewall rule on a VLAN port group, this VLAN port group is represented as a segment in NSX. And just to finish on the NSX application platform, since I see a question on that, the services which are run on the application platform, they run as containers. They are deployed on this application platform as containers. They don't have a VM form factor. So it means that NSX Intelligence, NSX Metrics, NSX NDR, typically those are Kubernetes containers deployed on this platform, and you need this platform to run those. Sorry, I want one step too fast. So NSX Intelligence is not, let me maybe pause a second before we move to the next part, since there are so many questions on that. So I'll say answer live on that. The NSX application platform does not replace intelligence. The NSX application platform, it's a solution to offer a scale-out architecture to run intelligence and to basically not have intelligence be a single VM, but to have intelligence be containers, which we can scale out on running on this platform. It's a mean to an end. Just like for other services, it does not replace Metrics. Metrics runs as in a container form factor on this platform. Or NDR, same thing. So it's not a replacement. It's the way to run the service in a Kubernetes form factor. Yes, so the new NSX metric feature will provide typically more advanced internal metrics, point in time, additional data plane metrics. So yes, that's what it is being used for. So those are not metrics which are removed from the core platform, but additional metrics. So let's continue. I'll take some of these questions after. Maybe just one last. Those features are on the LM. Yes, the NSX application platform is on the LM and not the GM. So now let's move to the next part, and I think that will also answer some of those questions. I think I managed most of the questions around the NSX application platform, which is a big new thing, so that's important, and I understand why there are so many questions. So let's go into the visibility monitoring. We have improved the monitoring and the visibility, adding additional alarms, adding additional metrics, adding additional events. We know that's an important thing for NSX to allow the operator to be able to manage the environment, to monitor it, and to troubleshoot it as easily as possible. That's we are a complete networking, security, and services platform, so those are a lot of things. So it's important to be able to give the tools to people to be able to run it and take full advantage of it. So the first thing, and that also relates to one question which is asked, which is with Avi, what we are doing with Avi. So we are integrating with Avi to be able to offer from NSXT either UI or API the consumption of Avi. And so that means that typically from the policy API, you are able to do some API calls which configure Avi. From the NSXT UI, you'll see in the UI of NSXT the load balancer configurations, which will configure Avi also. And you will also have the VMware ALB, Advanced Load Balancer, which is the new name for Avi, controllers, which can be installed through the NSXT Manager UI. So that's the integration, so that you have one point of management in order to be able to manage the workloads, and for people who are used to the NSXT load balancer to be able to have things from the NSX UI. So I'll just check if there are any questions on that. Can we deep? So in order, so I'm just going through the question. So I think this one I answered. Yes, is ALB still a separately licensed product? There is a point on that, which is that with NSX, you're entitled to an Avi Basic Edition, which typically covers the use cases from the NSXT load balancer. So allows any customer with NSXT load balancer to transition to Avi. But advanced feature set from Avi, like GSLB, for instance, typically which did not exist at all in NSXT-LB, they require a specific license from Avi. So it seems that this one was popular. I see it multiple times. So and on the question from Avi, which is what does NSX and ALB are NSX and ALB still separated products, but there is a high integration between them? Yes, that's the idea. So Avi is not going away as a standalone product, and you will still be able to position it. You will still be able to sell it as a standalone, but the idea is that it is NSXT main load balancer platform, and it is highly integrated into NSXT, so that people can use Avi in any case. Not to have like two choices of load balancer, but have an integration from NSXT, which will allow to consume Avi. And as I said, this integration is in UI, it's in API, it's in the workflow. So it allows basically to do everything based on the Avi service engines and the Avi controller. But Avi remains a standalone option available. So that is not going away. And yes, oh, sorry, I should explain which question. For VCD integration, the VCD integration continues to be the same. VCD consumes both NSXT and Avi. They do this orchestration on top. They are the one managing both APIs. And so to my knowledge, they are not changing this model. So typically the people using VCD, they won't see changes on that. They will still use Avi and NSX. So now let me move maybe to the, in the interest of time, to the next slide, Antrea integration with NSXT. So Antrea is our solution for containers, as you probably know. It's used in Tanzu for the different clusters. And until now, it was independent from NSXT, completely independent from NSXT. So in 3.2.0, we have an integration between them. And a bit like Avi, it doesn't mean that you need an NSXT for Antrea. So you still are, Antrea is still a standalone platform, but Antrea has an integration with the NSXT manager so that the firewall rules from Antrea will be typically visible from the security management of NSX. And you can push some firewall rules also from the security management from NSX. So you see this communication between Antrea and NSX, which allows you to have both visibility and the ability to push rules. So that's mostly for security. Security is the main use case for that. And so basically, if I have to sum it up, everything it does, it allows to apply policies to Kubernetes cluster from NSX. It allows to collect also in the inventory the pods, the namespaces, the services, and to tag them in order to apply those security policies. So it really brings one single point of view, which is NSX, which is extended now to those environments. And that's important because, yeah, it's available on multiple types of environments, so VMware Tanzu, native Kubernetes, OpenShift, and also, well, if you have some VMs, they will be managed from NSX. So, I don't see too many questions on Antrea. Maybe there are many questions still on Avi. So maybe I'll treat those at the end. Let me just move to the next subject, which is MP to policy. So MP is the management tool, the management API. So typically we have this API called MP API from management plane. And in the UI, you have a toggle to be able to do things between policy and between manager APIs. And typically you are using that if your customers deployed before NSXT 2.4, which is quite an old version, but before NSXT 2.4, the API was an imperative API. It was based on UUIDs. It was a different model. Then NSXT switched to a different model, which is called the policy API, which is a declarative model where you name the objects, you define their IDs, you define their properties, and all the new features are coming in this policy API. And so a greenfield customer post NSXT 2.4 would have deployed the policy API, but we still had some customers who were using the MP APIs, and the MP APIs were still there. It was still possible to use it. It was still in the UI, What was not available until 3.2.0 was the ability to take all those objects from the management plane API and to move them in the policy API. And so without, of course, touching the data plane, because that's just a change of representation. And that's what 3.2.0 is bringing with this MP2 policy. So if you have an environment using MP API management plane, you'll be able to take all those objects and have them move to the policy API so that customer can use the latest and greatest API and have one single place to manage all this, and also to be able to use the new features which are coming only against this API. This is something only for LM, like GM is only for policy API, before someone asks the questions. So this is only for LMs, and typically those are customers who have deployed for, or who had some integrations which were there for a little while. So, so this moves all the different objects without touching the data plane. Now, and I see there is a question on that. What about the integrations? I would say, sorry, technically, from NSX perspective, no matter who creates the objects, we can move them. Now, what is important also is that the platform consuming it rewires their consumption to the new objects. And so typically, I know this is being worked on with the TKGI team. But for the things which have an integration on top, they need to understand that this migration is happening. So for those, the tool on the top would need to understand that the object is being moved from MP to policy, and would need to implement that in order to rewire their consumption. Otherwise, well, from an NSX perspective, everything would be fine, but from a consumption perspective, you'll have a limitation for that. So yeah, for things which have a strong integration, typically the integration also needs to validate that we can run this process in order, and they can rewire their consumption to the new model. So yeah, so that's for the management manager to policy options. So once again, and that's an important part, that's really a management plane thing. That's something which does not touch the data plane, which moves the object from one representation in the manager API to another representation in the policy API. And that was our goal all along. We didn't want people to delete their objects and recreate them, which would mean some disruption in the data plane perspective. So now moving to another migration, a bigger migration, which is the migration from NSXV to NSXT. And so we still have many customers who are using NSXV and want to move them to NSXT. And so we are adding new features to the tools which are available in order to do that. And so if we take our tool, so we have a tool called the Migration Coordinator. And this tool, from the beginning, if I do a little of history there, it could migrate in place a number of specific topologies, the most common ones. And so typically, if you are within those topologies, the tool takes you and migrates you to an NSXT topology that it defines for you. So you can find that on the documentation. You have a mapping. If you have topology 1, you go to this topology. If you have topology 2, you go to this topology. Then in 3.1, we introduced some typically advanced migration options. And typically the ability to migrate, for instance, only the distributed firewall configuration for people who wanted to do migration side by side, what we call lift and shift, or only the hosts and the firewall rules for people who wanted to have, let's say, a VCF or another platform create the topology. But everything on top, the layer 3 topology, the services was created by the customer. And what we are adding in 3.2.0 is the ability to do something that we call user-defined topologies. And so that comes from the fact that now, I would say, we have started by treating the very traditional customers using predefined topologies, but you can have multiple variations in NSXV, and you can want also multiple variations in NSXT on typically how your design would look like. And so the idea of this mode is to ask typically the customer to define in NSXT what they want in terms of layer 3 topology, tier 0, tier 1s, and to do a mapping. So to do a mapping between the NSXV components, the edge service gateway, the distributed logical router, and to move the services from those edge service gateways and those distributed logical router to the component in NSXT. So which allows more flexibility because customer can choose how it looks like in terms of target, and customer can have very different topologies in NSXV and do this mapping, even things which were very hard for our tool to understand because they were done in a certain way. And this tool has two modes, one in place, and where we do the migration of the hosts in place, so meaning we put them in maintenance mode and we switch them from NSXV to NSXT, or one which is configuration only. We move the configuration, but we expect the customer to come with at least a number of hosts to kickstart the migration and move the VMs. And once they have moved those VMs, they can free some hosts and move them from one to the other. But the idea is that they do a side-by-side migration. So I see multiple questions here. In NSXT 3.2.0, cross vCenter is not supported. So a cross vCenter with primary and secondary is not supported. That's something which is being worked on for the next iteration, and it will use the same model, which is this user-defined topology. Right now, we are still in a single site model. Does the migration coordinator support multi-tap? Yes, yes, and that's not new to 3.2.0. It supports multi-VTAP deployments in NSXV. And is it supported to have a single vCenter register to both NSXV and NSXT at the same time? Yes. You just need to have different clusters. So one vCenter can have cluster 1 NSXV, cluster 2 NSXT. And for the use cases where you do the migration with lift and shift, that's very common actually, because that allows to share the same storage. So we have multiple customers doing it that way. The only thing really not supported is to have NSXV and NSXT on the same hosts. And since NSXV is deployed by a cluster, it means that a cluster needs to be either V or T. But inside the same vCenter is completely okay. So that's for the migration. In addition to that, we are adding support for VIO. So typically we have an integration for VIO so that environment with VIO can migrate from NSXV to NSXT. It's the same thing that I was talking about, typically talking about the MP and policy API. When you have an integration on top of NSX and the environment from NSXV to NSX moves to something else, the integration needs to be rewired. And so we have that for VIO added in 3.2.0. And we have that for VRF for native integration that was a bit before, but we continue to add some features on that. VCD, vCloud Director, already has a tool to migrate those environments. So we have the three main cloud management platforms which were integrated with NSXV for that. Okay. In addition to that, a few additional features: identity firewall, GISI, the firewall, the simplification of the process. Typically, that removes one step. This last point on the automate firewall export version. Before we asked people to go in NSXV and change this export version. Now we do that for them. So typically, a lot of investment on V2T to add features to the tool. And this continues also in the future releases to cover, like typically, for instance, cross vCenter to federation. So those are the scale numbers. I'll share the slides, of course. So now let me move to security. Security in 3.2 is one of the main priorities of the release. So we have added a lot of security features. So I'll go over those. So the entire goal of the BU is to provide more advanced features in terms of security from where we started, which was layer 4 firewall, but in a distributed fashion. So micro-segmentation has always been a very important use case for NSX. And we started with this competitive advantage to be able to position firewall rules very close to the workloads, very distributed, very scalable in terms of east-west, but not with a lot of capabilities on the firewall itself. Like if we take NSXV, it's a layer 4 firewall at the beginning. And so here we continue to introduce firewall rules, new features, including layer 7 firewall rules, but also advanced threat preventions, IDS, IPS, malware analysis, network traffic analysis. And we also enrich not only the distributed part, but the gateway firewall with some additional features for that, so that people can use also NSX more at the perimeter in order to bring security. And on top of that, we are adding the different tools to do that, which run either in NSX on the application platform to offer the discovery of the flows, the recommendation, the policy management, those different additional services. So a lot of new things in this release. That was, as I said, one of the big priority of the release. And as you can see, a very strong focus has been put on that. So we'll go over those on the distributed, the gateway, and the advanced analytics. So let's start with the distributed one. So typically, what we can do today, as I said, we started from layer 4. We moved to layer 7 with some app IDs. We can do identity firewall, use security based on a given user by interacting with the Active Directory. And we have signature-based IDS IPS. You have malware, which are identified by signatures, and the IDS IPS checks those signatures to check those malware. So now in NSX 3.2, we are introducing brownfield security. So meaning we are making it easier to insert NSXT in environments in order to do security by not asking people to move their VMs on NSXT networks, being able to do security on VMs on vSphere port groups. We are extending the user ID firewall to the bare metal servers. We are extending the layer 7 firewall with more app IDs. We are extending the alarms, the operations, that type of things. We are adding in IDS IPS behavioral IDS IPS, and I'll have a slide on that, but basically, just to sum it up, in addition to signature on the malware, being able to do security on the user behavior, and distributed malware prevention, so being able to do malware prevention at the VM. So let's go over those. Yes, so that one is important, which is that customers who are based on vSphere port groups, who don't have NSX, who have vSphere 7, but also vSphere 6.7, will be able to do security without moving their VMs. And so just so that we are clear with everyone, with vSphere 7, NSXT is deployed on VDS 7. So it means we don't have the NVDS, we have the VDS 7 where we create some NSXT networks. But what was the case previously was that if you want any NSX feature, you need to be on an NSX network, which can be a VLAN network or which can be an overlay. But if you're on a vSphere port group, you didn't have those features. So now what we are seeing with this feature is that your VMs on vSphere port groups, so port groups not managed by NSX, either in vSphere 6.7 or in vSphere 7.0 or above, are able to get the security. And that can be configured from the wizard that we've seen before in the vCenter. And the idea here is to allow like simpler deployments, smaller customers to adopt those features. So now on the firewall itself, typically we have added 750 app IDs, so more application identifiers to be able to do more layer 7. So we want people to use the more advanced features of our firewall. We want people to move beyond layer 4. Many people are still at layer 4. So we are giving them the ability to do so by having much more applications which are detailed there. We are adding things like TLS decryption, which allows to see typically flows which are encrypted, which leverage HTTPS or TLS. We are also using that to unblock migration from partners, because in NSXV, that thing was mostly driven by partners, layer 7 firewall. And so to simplify that and to move to an environment where NSX would replace those and would basically allow the customer to have one single point of configuration, one single point of data plane, so for better performances. So yes, that's for the distributed firewall layer 7, the application identities. Go fast under. We are also bringing malware detection and prevention. So we this way typically we allow in a distributed fashion the check of malicious files across those different VMs to be able to intercept those files when they come over either an encrypted or encrypted connection with the TLS decryption, and to do so in a distributed fashion. And to see all that once again from one single place, which is the NSX manager, which will manage this, even though it's applied in a distributed fashion to have all the benefits and the scalability of the distribution. As well, just in the interest of time, I won't do the entire thing. So here you see it's the NSXT UI. You manage those from the NSXT UI, and you are able basically to see those different files. So we are transitioning more and more into a complete security company, an alternative to the additional things that were using us, that we were positioning as third-party integrations. By adding those advanced security features. Now, the next one is behavioral IDS-IPS. And so we've added IDS-IPS, we've added distributed IDS-IPS. So to be able to check the packets which are coming outside of the different VMs and to check them against signatures. So basically we were getting a number of signatures and we apply those signatures either to the traffic to check for malware or to check for things identified by those signatures. The idea here of behavioral based detection is in addition to that, rather than just attempting to identify malware specific behavior, we identify behaviors which are not correct. So typically network behaviors associated with signs of an infection. And for instance, to identify some specific communication in the networks which is not normal, communication outside of the environment. So here we are adding to the malware signatures with signatures of those specific behaviors to complement that. Those are some other type of signatures based on typically actions which appear as which appears as dangerous. So those different signatures, they are characterized by a security level which is informational, and they'll be there to identify the unusual behavior related to the breach. So also I have the different actions that will be tracked There is a complete workflow. There is a complete TOI on this subject if you want to go into more details with a demo on each step and that, and a complete description on that. So I'll just check for a second, like all the different questions. So there are many questions on the licensing. Yes, IDS IPS has some specific licensing. So there are some licenses for security. I'll send the link to everyone with the detail on the license level, so that those are public. So I won't go into much details on that, but typically the advanced security features from NSX have a specific license. Yes. For the NSX backed overlay segment in the vCenter, they are still seen from vCenter. So just to, yeah, it seems also that there are some questions on how the networks are represented in both ways. So when you have a network in NSX, it is typically a port group in vSphere if you're using VDS7, NSX port group, a port group managed by NSX, or it is an overlay, an opaque network if you are using NVDS. So it's still read-only, it's still in your vCenter. That's why you use it to connect your VMs. Now, if you are using what I presented earlier, the switch agnostic security, your port groups from vSphere, they will be shown in NSX as typically read-only segments. And so in NSX, from the NSX UI, you'll see those segments and you'll be able to do firewall rules on them. So that's typically how it's done. The networks are still represented on both sides. So yeah, let me continue, just checking the time on the gateway security. I'm just maybe removing the questions on the licensing level. So on the gateway security, we have increased the level of security on the gateway to allow to position it more and more as a firewall, as a complete firewall. So not only simply basically as something used by a cloud management platform or internally to do some services and be automated because it's easier to automate and so you can provision everything, but really as a dedicated firewall that you can use in your environment. So typically in this release, we have introduced TLS inspection. It is tech preview. So meaning that you can use it, but it's not for production environments. We have introduced URL filtering, layer 7 application identities like on the distributed firewall, user ID firewalling for the physical servers. IPS also is there to be tested for as tech preview. So those will be switched to complete GA features in a future release. So for now, they are for people to try, to test, and to offer feedback, and malware detection and sandboxing. So yeah, the idea is to be able to extend our identity firewall and typically our user-based security to things which are outside of the environment and manage that way the access to those different those different environments. It's done typically doing log scraping, which means that we don't need to be, well, in the VM, you have two ways to do, in the VMware world, in some ways, you have two ways to do this identity firewall. One is by using log scraping, and log scraping has no dependency. One is by using the tools inside the VM. So basically VM tools with a certain level of VM tools can give you those informations. Now, since we are outside of the VMware environment, we don't want specifically to have agents. We don't want we don't have VM tools. So that will be based on scrapping typically of Active Directory, of Palo Alto Global Protect, and other integrations like that. It maps the user to an IP, and this rule is pushed with an IP on the firewall. So which allows to allow the user to deny access for those users. So we do that based on the log of the ID or through log inside based on the logs of different platforms. So TLS decryption, which is in tech preview on the gateway and in GA on the distributed firewall, is really important also to increase our level of security, simply because more and more the traffic is encrypted almost very frequently, and inside the application, outside the application. And so in order to be able to check this traffic, to be able to do IDS, IPS, different analysis against signature, we need to see the traffic encrypted. And so that's typically why we are implementing that. We are implementing it in the distributed world, but also in the gateway world. And so if you have customers interested, don't hesitate to look at this, to look at that with them, knowing that it is only tech preview for now and will become GA in a later version. URL filtering is also a very popular feature on firewalls. So basically being able to create securities not on IPs, but based on the URL, to allow access to some URLs and not to other URLs. So this has been a recurring ask from customers, which is being implemented here. And to be able also to do things not on specific URLs, but on categories, on reputation, is also something very useful in order to block some types of sites. And so that's being implemented on the tier 1 gateway. And then we have also the malware detection on the gateway security. So the same way that we were doing the malware detection on the distributed firewall, to have it at the tier 1 level, so at the centralized firewall level, and to be able to do this malware analysis and check those malicious files also at the centralized level, so that it can be positioned basically across things which are not always on the NSXT environment, and which are not always protected by the distributed security from NSXT. Fast on that. And IDS IPS. So IDS IPS was purely distributed until now. So now it's moving also to the gateway. And this is the same idea. So based with signature or behavioral detection, to be able to check the traffic going through the tier 1, and to be able to identify malware or uncommon behavior, and to either flag it or block it. So that's the model. This is also a feature which is introduced in 3.2.0 as a tech preview, and which will be made GA in a future release. Okay, so yeah, I see a number of questions there on two things. One is the licensing level. So as I said, I can send that. That's being detailed in the public documentation on the ATP SKUs, the firewall SKUs for advanced security feature, and there are some also on performance. And so there is a dedicated TOI on that. So those, it's true that it's important for those treatment which are going a bit deep, the performance part. So there is a dedicated TOI from Stein on this subject, on the security, and Stein would be the good point of contact to go into more details on this feature specifically. So I'll send the contact on that. So just okay. So a few words on NSX Cloud. So NSX Cloud is the ability to have through agent or agentless deployment security on the public cloud, so on Azure and AWS, and for to cover VMs, typically to implement the security for VMs on a number of networking services. The main use case is to extend the microsegmentation on the public cloud. So in this release, we are introducing new OSs supported. Since that's agent-based, we need to support specifically the OS. So Ubuntu 20.04 and RHEL 8, in addition to the different OSs which are supported already. So we support Windows, we support a number of those OSs. Now, we also are introducing in Tech Preview some advanced security features on the PCG, which is the equivalent of the tier 1 on the public cloud. So we deploy a VM called the PCG, and this PCG typically can do layer 4 firewall today. And the idea is to be able to have Tech Preview for features more advanced than that, like layer 7 firewall, IDS, IPS, so those types of features. The other security features which is in Tech Preview is identity firewall, and typically through log scraping, be able to assign some specific securities on a VM based on the user who is connected to that. And that security is for a given VM. So that's an important point also. If you have a VM, it's not for a VM which is shared by multiple users. It's for a VM which is used by a single user to be able to say, oh, this is the user using this VM, and apply security on him. Those two features are Tech Preview also, so if you have interested customers, please bring them, but they are not supported for production. So here typically is what we are introducing for the NSX Cloud Gateway Firewall, so layer 7 firewalling, identity firewall, URL filtering. So there are still less features than on the on-prem deployment. And yeah, those are Tech Previews. So we are starting to implement those features also on the NSX Cloud environment. And just as a reminder, NSX Cloud can be deployed two ways. It can be deployed with an agent on the VM, and so it's NSX enforced mode, and that allows us, that is on the right, to do a number of security enforcement at the VM based on NSX capabilities, like layer 7 app IDs, for instance, layer 7 firewalling, URL filtering, so more advanced security. Or for people who want things without agent, it's possible to do what is called cloud enforcement mode, which typically applies security using the public cloud firewall, using AWS firewall, using Azure firewall. So NSX in this case is a single point of management, but the points of enforcement are the public cloud, which limits typically the feature set available by what is possible to do on those environments. Okay, so moving on. I'm sorry if I go a bit fast. It just, well, this release has a lot of content, and there are a lot of things to present in a limited amount of time. So once again, please, if there are anything specific, you can reach out to me, and I can point you in the right direction, typically with the specialist of the feature, if you have any questions for that. And also our TPMs, they did multiple sessions specifically on a per feature basis, which are recorded on Vault. So if someone wants, for instance, to go in much more detail on some specific topic, there is probably a 1 hour session about it. So yes, now moving on with that, we are introducing network traffic analysis, which typically allows machine-based detection of traffic anomalies in the environment. It requires to have the application platform. It does not require to have any tabs or any monitoring device. We are using the ability of NSX to be at every workload and to generate flows in order to have those informations. We have different detectors that allow to check what is being done in this environment and to offer some remediation through microsegmentation. So here is the detector definitions. And typically an alert that is raised by one of those detectors. That's also part for people asking questions about the different SKUs of the advanced security SKUs. And it relies typically on IDS IPS, it relies on malware prevention to grab those information. So basically it's leveraging also the other capabilities from NSX in order to offer this visibility. It correlates those and maps typically the adversary behaviors in the environment. So here is an example of a result from that. And the idea is to appeal also more to a different type of persona, which is not just the firewall admin, but the SOC operator. So we've started that with NSX Intelligence that continues this model to address more and more people from the security team and typically the SOC admin to have this visibility. So we typically leverage the IDS IPS, the Sandbox, and the NTA. We correlate them with the NDR. So the NDR offer, which is based off like the acquisition of Lastline, in order to be able to offer also some additional security in this model. And once again, to target more the SOC analyst. So for this part on the NTA and the NDR, I would recommend to talk to Stein if you have any specific questions on this area, and to look at his TOI. He did 2 TOIs on this subject, going in much more details and doing a full-fledged demo. In addition to that, we have many enhancements to NSXT itself, and things which can be like relatively small, but which are very useful for customers and are typically like the types of asks that we get from customers to improve their UX, like the ability to do drafts on the global manager, the ability to have unified security logs, enhancement to the grouping. I won't read them all, but what is important there is that in addition to the big features which are on the slides, you will see in the UI, but also in the API and in the operations, multiple enhancements, and that's very true for security. That's true also for other parts, which typically allows a better, a simpler consumption of the environment. And so maybe let me just choose a few of those and point them out. LDAP configuration on the global manager. So you can configure the LDAP directly on the global manager without VIDM. Before we were requiring you to do VIDM. New signatures thanks to Lastline, improved performance of the distributed IDS IPS. There was a question on that. So as I said, a focus has been done on this performance. And basically enhancement to the LDAP integration. So various enhancements which are detailed in the TOIs. Okay, so now maybe pausing on security, checking if we. So there is a question on the ability to do IDS IPS offline. I think it requires to be connected to internet, but I would advise you to check with time. I'm not 100% sure of that. So Mount Smith, I would advise you, yes, check with time on this subject. Is there any migration event to enable vSphere 7 port group to be controlled by NSX? There is no migration of ownership from the vSphere port groups to the NSX port group. So if you want to move your, so now we bring security on those vSphere port groups. Now, if the admin says, hey, I want to have everything on an NSX port group, that way everything is managed from NSX, well, you need to create this port group and disconnect, reconnect the VM from port group VLAN 40 to port group VLAN 40, which shouldn't be very disturbing, but which is an action that is required. So there is no like taking away from vCenter is port group. That's one question. I think that's probably for the best. Any best practice to migrate VIO NSXV to NSXT? We have a documentation on that. So please, Stefan, look at the doc. We detail every steps on what is required. So there is one way to do this migration, and that relies typically on the both on VIO recreating the environment and using the migration coordinator to move the hosts. So if you don't find what you want in the documentation, reach out to me. I'm the PM for this area, but things should be described in the documentation. So I'll treat the remaining questions after, because now we're coming back before security. So let me go over this last part, which is the networking services, and typically what is new for networking and edge. And then we can go over any questions. So for networking services, we have extended a number of existing features like Proxy ARP, for instance. Proxy ARP was only available on active standby tier zeros. Proxy ARP allows people to typically connect their tier zero to a VLAN, but not just pick IPs on this VLAN. That's pretty useful for POC, where people are not able to touch the physical switch in order to create dynamical routing or do that type of things, but it could be used in different other ways. We are improving the UENS. UENS is the switch for NFV and telcos, which is a switch which typically blocks some cores on the hosts in order to give higher performance. And at the beginning, it was doing a limited number of features, typically mostly networking. So now, as you can see there, it can do additional things like DFW, DLB, port mirroring, and while having this additional performance. So support dual NICs for the Windows physical servers, so a little improvement there. Now on the networking services themselves, here we have some things which are a bit bigger, and I'm going to talk about that after, which is the L3 EVPN route server mode. So that's probably mostly for big customers, telcos, big enterprise using EVPN. Federation phase 2, so some additional features in federation, typically to enable DR. Multicast topo support for tier 0 active. So that's also improvement to multicast to not have the tier 0 active standby as it used to be, and some improvement to the CMP. And then, of course, we have multiple improvements in terms of operations and monitoring like we had for security. So EVPN route server mode, the idea is that, let me just remove the animations so that we have everything. The idea is that now the SXI is capable of sending VXLAN traffic to the fabric routers, like to the physical routers, bypassing the edge node in the data path. And so in this model, you still need edge nodes, you still need a tier 0, because it handles the control plane, which is based on BGP. In NSXT, BGP is run from the edge nodes, but that's used for the control plane. And that then typically the traffic does not go through the edges, and this allows to connect the environment directly outside. So here, that's if you are specifically interested by this area, contact Nicolas Michel and Jérôme Catrouillet. They are the PM and TPM for this, who will be happy to help you with that. And typically, the idea is really to integrate within physical environments who are doing EVPN. That's more and more common across the large data centers. And so telcos, of course, but also large companies who are implementing these EVPN environments. So we had already introduced type 5 in 3.1, and here we are introducing the route server mode. So things are encapsulated in VXLAN until the SXI. So that's coming from the outside the physical fabric until the SXI. And traffic flows directly between hypervisor and DC gateway, meaning physical routers. So that's really the big benefit for that, to bypass the tier 0, tier 1 edge nodes in order to have things completely distributed on the NSX side, and not to go through those appliances to provide services. So federation now. Well, as you all know, federation was introduced in 3.0. made production ready in 3.1, and it allows one single NSX environment to span multiple NSXT deployments. So what I mean by that is to have one global manager creating extended configurations across multiple NSXT local managers. So here we have some improvements like the ability to do drafts. And one thing which is very important, I think, which is the support of the tag replication by ESRM. And so when we do security in Federation, you can use tags. And that's one of the big advantage of Federation, that security can be dynamic even across sites. So you can tag VM on site 1, tag VM on site 2, and do firewall rules between them. This tag is maintained during vMotion on those different operations. And here, typically, this tag is maintained during DR for SRM, so that security will be maintained while you're doing DR. And so this really enables the DR use case. There were some additional features planned at the beginning of the release, just to be transparent. The support of L3 VPN and the support of the bridging, which have been pushed to a later release. So if you are interested specifically about those or have specific requirements about those, yeah, reach out to Jérôme Catrouillet. They are still being worked on, but they didn't fit in 3.2.0. So now the last part, and before the summary slides, which is events and monitoring. And so we have a list of events and monitorings that we have added. So we have added some MTU health check. Even today, after multiple years, MTU is still an issue because, you know, for the encapsulation, we need to have a specific MTU which is higher than the normal MTU. So we have some checks, and we have some checks on the mismatch which are possible between the VDS, between NSX, between those different components. We are improving the events and alarms, so new events, new alarms. So there is a big list of that. They are not detailed because there are many. And TraceFlow, we are extending TraceFlow to support things which are not only overlay, but which are VLAN, and to support also pods connected to Entria. So TraceFlow is the ability to send a packet and to see in NSX UI what this packet does, where it is dropped, where it goes. That's because we send a packet with some specific flags, and before those flags they were in the overlay packets. So now we are extending that. Live traffic analysis, so the ability to check the different traffic, and that's related also to all I was saying about the metrics and monitoring, like the ability to have additional metrics, time series metrics. So that's typically what is being offered by the metric on top of the NSX application platform. Collect and store metric for typically up to 1 year, and monitor the trends across those different metrics in the environment. So that's also one of the additional benefits of the NSX application platform. And easier port mirroring. So one thing, we can go through the IDM, that's the native, I would say, the integration with LDAP in NSXT, that's the first one which came. But in an earlier release, we introduced the ability to connect directly the LDAP to NSXT LM, but not to the GM. So now the GM can also connect directly the NSXT LDAP without having to go through VMware Identity Manager. So that's yes, just maybe finishing on that. Some features typically on the GM like TraceFlow or the Ansible modules have also been deferred through post 3.2.0, and they will still be worked on. They've been worked on throughout the release, but they were not at a quality level at the end of the release that we wanted to make them GA. So they will be added at a later date. So if you have questions on that, yeah, you can reach out to me. That does not mean they are not coming or they are disappearing. It just means that we prefer to not GA them at this time. So yeah, I have this summary slide, and maybe for now I can either look at the different questions or answer some of the questions live. So I won't read the summary slides. I will let you look at it. doesn't display perfectly. I'm sorry about that. But here you have basically the summary of everything we went through. I know that was a lot of features, and we didn't go into the details of every one of them for sure. So as I was saying, like if you want to go into the details, the first thing is look at Vault, because there have been like 5 TOI specifically on those features. And the other one is don't hesitate to reach out to the TPM team. So now let me, I don't know, Eleanor, how we proceed for now. I can either go through the questions which were asked there, or we can have some live questions, as you prefer.
Yeah, feel free to do it however you prefer. You can absolutely go through the questions that are open at the moment.
Okay. So let's do that. So are there any migration paths for existing intelligence appliance VMs into NAP? So I'm not sure. I don't think so. I would advise you to reach to Sam Garnashian. He is the PM for NSX Intelligence. So if you have questions, send them to me, especially those types of questions. I can redirect them. That would be easier than giving you all the names live right now to write them all. So yeah, that's the status. Are there any new features limit inside NSX Intelligence 2.0? Yes, there are some new features that there are a few dedicated slides on that I don't have in the slide deck. Let me look my note if you just for those different features. So, well, the main thing is that it was re-architected to be scale out and to increase in terms of scale and no longer be an OVA. So that's one thing we've talked about because it runs from NSX application platform. Now, in addition to that, typically there are additional things like it integrates with a vSphere Lifecycle Manager. It allows you to have more data collection settings on what you want to data collect, and keep on the SXI host, the clusters. It has some enhancements in what you can view and the workload view in the canvas view, and it has also enhancement in the way it displays them to you. Like there have been work to do to improve the performance in the way we display things. And in addition to that, it's integrated with what we've seen before, the network traffic analysis, and offer some, I think there were some minor enhancements also on the recommendations. So that's, yeah, my notes. Once again, there is a dedicated TOI on this subject if you want to go deeper, and I can send the name of the PM for the NSX Intelligence. Can you deploy NSX leveraging the vSphere REST API with the new integration? You can deploy NSX through the vCenter. I'm not sure I get the questions. You can have a workflow from vSphere which will deploy the NSX and the NSX components, yes. Maybe let me read the question. You mentioned the FW on non-NSX network. How is this new from VLAN back microsegmentation? So yeah, how is before you could do VLAN back microsegmentation. So you could do segmentation on VLANs with workloads created on VLANs. Those VLANs were created from NSXT. So in NSXT, you went to NSXT, created a segment, said it was VLAN 40, and then you connected your VMs to that. Now, if you were a customer who had everything deployed on some vSphere port groups, like you had VM on VLAN 40, but on a port group in your vCenter because you don't have NSXT, that meant that you needed to plan to reconnect all your VMs on some networks that you had created in NSXT. And it was already easier with VDS 7.0 because you could still be on the same VDS, create a new port group, but still you had to disconnect them from port group 1 to go to NSX port group 2. So that's the big difference, which is that now even if you're in vSphere 6.7, vSphere 7 or above, we don't ask you to do that. We just create firewall rules on the existing VLAN. So you don't have to plan to connect those VMs to NSXT network. That's the big difference. So as Avi replaced the NSXT generic load balancer. So the NSXT generic load balancer is still there in 3.2.0. However, the long-term view is that we want to have one single load balancer, which is based on ALB. And so the goal of having the ALB load balancer in the NSXT UI and the NSXT API also is to allow people to move from NSXT LB to NSXT ALB. And so if you have any customer deploying some load balancers, I would strongly encourage you to deploy them on NSXT ALB, because that's typically where we want to migrate the customers. So in 3.2.0, you'll find both of them. It's not like one has not been replaced and disappeared, but the goal is to move all the customers on NSXT ALB. Will there be any scaling differences with this Avi integration? Not to my knowledge. I'm not aware of any specific scaling differences. So if there are, they should be put in config max and be there with the other numbers in config max, but I'm not aware of anything specific in addition to Avi and NSX current limitations. Yeah, according to KB, the number of the KB, NSX 3.2 is only recommended for greenfield deployment. Are there plans to change this in something that we can use in brownfield as well? Yes. So I told it at the beginning of the session. This KB is the result due to a bug during the upgrade process. And since there was this bug, we preferred to say that for now, for people to hold off on upgrade from 3X or 3.1X or from the previous version of NSXT to 3.2.0. Work is being done on a 3.2.0.1. You can find it in Release Hub. And so we will fix that. And the goal is for people to be able to upgrade to 3.0.x. So it's not a choice, or it's not a design, and it's not something which is meant to stay. The upgrade will be re-enabled once we have corrected this issue. And normally 3.2.0.1, you can check in Release Hub, as I said, is very close in terms of days. That's not something very far. So when will the interoperability matrix be updated with the supported VMware product? So the VMware interop matrix is updated with the different products and with all those who have completed their testing. And so, for instance, for VRA, it would be there. For VCD, they should have added it. Now, what happens is that sometimes other BUs, they take a bit of time to test things, some additional times. So they have not updated all the versions which are supported or that type of things. But you would have already some versions of VRA and some versions of VCD. Like the latest version of VCD has been updated. I checked that yesterday. And the version of VRAs also have been updated. Now, if you have a question on a specific version, you can ask it, but normally those should be there. Since 3.2 is a major release, not everything which was supported with 3.1 is interoperable with 3.2. So the goal is to always have a path, but that's not exactly the same version. Of course, I'm pretty sure all of you know that. So there are two questions on TKGI and MP2 policy. So as I said, we have the tool from the NSX standpoint in 3.2.0, which allows to do MP2 policy and to move all the objects from MP2 policy. Now, on top of that, any integration would need to understand that typically we have done this migration and changed those objects. So TKGI needs to support this additional migration. So from NSX, I would say the tool is there. From TKGI, the consumption of this tool needs to be released, which to my knowledge, it is not today. The PM from NSX side in charge of that is Pooja Patel. Or also you can reach the TKGI team for that. Do you support BGP inside of NSXT, VM running BGP connected to a segment connected to a tier 0 inside of NSXT? So this would depend how it is connected, I guess. And I think that would be a question from the routing PM. The only component which can do BGP is the tier 0 or the tier 0 VRF through something which is called an uplink. So typically not through a downlink. So not because on a downlink you have a distributed router. So if the tier 0 is connected with an uplink to a network, I don't see why the VM wouldn't be able to do BGP with it. And typically, like let's say your VM is a router, your physical router can do BGP with your tier 0. So I don't see the issue there. It just needs to be connected through an uplink to the tier 0. That's and if you have those types of complex designs, I would advise you to work with Nicolas Michel and Jérôme Catrouillet on this topic. Is VRF and multi-tenancy supported with global tier 0? No, VRF is not supported on the global tier 0. That's not a feature available. VRF Lite is supported only on the local tier 0. So that would be a roadmap item for Jérôme, the PM I was talking about earlier. So are there any plans to support SSL VPN? No, there are no plans to support SSL VPN in NSXT. That's not a feature which is targeted for any release. There are more and more questions. Interesting. So I'm keeping for the end the ones that I'm not sure about the answer. So for the ETA for 3.0.1, please go look at Release Hub. That's there. And VLAN-based segmentation required more than just the VDS 7.0. It required your VMs to be connected to an NSX port group. If you have a VDS 7.0 in 3.1 and you have some port groups from vSphere and your VMs are on the port group from vSphere, they won't have any security. That's the feature I was talking about. Are stateful services now fully available in with ECMP? No, that's not a feature which is supported in 3.2.0. It was in the scope, but has been pushed to a future release. So stateful services on active edges is something which is planned for the future. So it was one of the features that was pushed to a future release. It was pushed quite early. That's why it's not in the slides. When would we recommend the vSphere NSXT plugin via standalone NSXT? The vSphere NSXT plugin, in some way, it's nice because you can do things from vSphere, but it also means that you are limited inside one vCenter. So it depends a lot of how your customers are consuming this environment. One of the two interests of NSXT and why it was created with a dedicated UI was to allow different teams to manage different things and to have NSXT also be a multi vCenter. So you can have up to 16 vCenters with a single NSXT. So for those more advanced model, typically the NSXT model maps better. So that's for simpler model where you want to do things from vSphere and maybe you have one single team managing everything. Or managing the NSXV environment.
Thank you very much for that, Thomas. Yeah. Really appreciate it. I think we might have to call it with the questions for now. As Thomas said, please reach out to your VMware TAM if you have any questions. Are there any further questions that you wanted to answer, Thomas? Otherwise, thank you very much. That was really useful content today. Thank you for the presentation. As we mentioned at the beginning, this presentation was recorded and your TAM will make that available to you. please join us next month when we'll be looking at Horizon 8 ESB. We look forward to seeing you on that on February the 10th. Thank you very much, everyone.